Any questions for Paul to start us off? And if you could just, state name and affiliation, that'd be great.
Hey, Paul, this is Alex Stumpf with DK Pittsburgh Sports. I guess, first of all, how'd you get the news today?
My agent called me about 20 minutes before the actual announcement on the TV, so that's when I found out.
Hey, Paul, Jason Mackey from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Just what was your reaction? What were the Pirates a team you were expecting to go to? All that stuff.
I don't know that I was expecting it, just because I was kind of trying to stay open. I had no idea what to expect of today, but I had met with the Pirates and really liked all the people that I met with and everything that I had heard about the Pirates. It seemed like it seems like a first-class organization. So when I heard, I was in shock a little bit, just absolutely ecstatic to get the news, because probably a year ago, this was never even a thought in my mind. But yeah, just ecstatic and absolutely honored and humbled to be in this position.
Congratulations, Paul. Kevin Gorman from the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. Just wanted to ask you what it means to you to be the #1 overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft.
It means a lot. It's super humbling. Like I said, I was in shock when I heard, because I didn't know that, a year ago, 2 years ago, I never thought that, it was even a possibility to be the first overall pick. So, again, I don't know what I was expecting, coming into today, but it means a lot to be the first overall pick. And I'm just looking forward to, what's to come with playing baseball and, hopefully winning a World Series or two in Pittsburgh.
Hey, Paul, this is Justin Valera with the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. Congratulations. Good to meet you. I'm curious, growing up, what players or pitchers did you idolize? And is there anyone in the league currently that you kind of would liken yourself to, or you try to emulate in terms of what you do on the mound and your stuff?
Yeah, I don't know about, comparison for myself, because I think, I do think I'm a mixture of a number of different pitchers, but the guys that I like to watch and the guys that I feel, as I move down the mound, I would say DeGrom, Strider, Darvish, and I know I probably don't look exactly like any of those guys, but that's what I feel as I move down the mound. And I really like watching Garrett Cole compete.
Paul, Jeff Hathorn from KDK Radio.
Sorry, I got interrupted last time too. Leah Van, Baton Rouge Advocate. Paul, you and Dylan went #1 and #2 in the draft. LSU becomes the first college in history to have 2 picks go #1 and 2. What do you think this says about the program?
It says that we have the right people, that Coach Johnson's doing a good job in bringing the right people into the building. And I don't think it's done anytime soon. I think it's going to be a pattern of success for LSU baseball. And I'm really excited to see where that program goes.
Hey, Paul, it's Jeff from KDK Radio in Pittsburgh. Congratulations. How close do you feel like you are to being a major league ready pitcher?
To be honest, I've gotten asked that a couple times over the past few weeks, and I don't know. I know stuff wise, I can look at models and I can look at other people's stuff, and in a vacuum, my stuff, people are telling me that it plays in the big leagues, but I also know that, I've watched this game for so long, and it's always felt so distant, in a sense, just because, I've been a fan and sitting in the stands watching all those guys compete. And now I don't know exactly what to expect because it's so close. And I don't know exactly what to expect. I think, to an extent, it's my decision on when I get to the big leagues, and, based on how I do and how I work and all that. And it's also someone else's decision to pull me up. But I think I'm close. I don't know exactly how close, but I'm going to do everything in my power to get there as soon as possible.
Hey, Paul,
Dan Zangrili from 93.7 The Fan. I'm curious as to what you think you got to work on to take that next step. If you could do an honest self-evaluation, get really nitpicky, if you will, what do you want to do better?
Yeah, as I've met with teams, it's pretty much been the same thing. I think the biggest difference between college and big leagues with my stuff is making 30 starts a year in a 5-day window every time versus 18 or 19 starts in a 7-day window. So that's going to be something, that I'm going to have to focus on, making that adjustment, and then, focusing on longevity. you know, to be able to do it for 10, 15 years at a time, you know, down the road. So first and foremost, I think that's what I need to do to be able to maintain my stuff as long as possible down the road. And then a lot of little stuff, pitch design stuff that I think is going to help get hitters out more effectively.
Hey, Paul, Cody Patanko here with Pittsburgh Baseball Now. Congrats on the first overall pick. We talked to Ben a little bit, and he discussed your breaking stuff and, you know, what you offer and things of that sort. But if you could just speak on how you have a feel for your breaking pitches. Ben mentioned you had a gyro slider, a couple other sliders to work with. But if you could just speak on your just breaking stuff in general.
Yeah, so I developed a sweeper in the fall, over the summer and in the fall, and the whole fall was just trying to develop feel for it. And as my velocity increased, my hand sped up, and I got a better feel for that breaking ball. And then incidentally, I don't actually have a gyro slider. I used to throw a gyro slider, but that's something I'm working on. And during the season, I tried to throw that gyro slider in catch play, just kind of playing around with it. Use the same grip and the same cue that I used the last couple of years when I was at Air Force, and it was a curveball. And I was trying to throw a gyro slider, but my hand, you know, my body had changed, my hand had sped up, you know, from last year, so it turned into a curveball. So those are the two off-speed pitches that I have, just kind of a different shape with each of them. And I think as I, you know, continue to develop and pitch and go on that track to the big leagues, I think that the feel for those are just going to increase.
Would you say your changeup has gotten comfortable with you as well?
I've actually always been a changeup pitcher. Throughout the high school, there were times like in the fall when I pitched in high school, I wasn't allowed to throw a slider just with our high school coach. That's just how he ran the program. So, which I'm super grateful for because it made me develop feel for the changeup. And up till this year, I didn't really have a very good slider, and I didn't know how to pitch with a slider, so I was fastball changeup mostly. So I think I've always had pretty good feel for the changeup.
Oh, you talked about this a little bit, and sorry if you've already answered this, but number one, like I know as your career has gone on from Air Force to LSU, like the draft has always been, you know, I feel like an attainable goal for you, but being first overall, how did you really think that this was a possibility last year, and how much did LSU play into this and getting you to today?
LSU was huge. I don't know. When I came to LSU, the goal wasn't to be the number one overall draft pick. It was to win a national championship and get better every day. And I think when you start with the end in mind, when you start with the goal in mind, then you can go along the road that allows you to accomplish that. And I think the way that I've gone about my player development over the past few years, you know, even go back to high school, taking it a day at a time and focusing on incrementally getting better. When you do that, and when you surround yourself with the right people, it makes it very possible for stuff like this to happen, I think. And I think you guys could see that, you know, when I was at LSU, you saw the end result and the product, but you know, probably not so much the process that went into it and the amount of work and focus and energy and time that went into it in the fall and in the winter. But again, I don't think that this was ever the goal. The goal is to play baseball as long as possible and compete at a very, very high level for as long as possible. And this is probably just a byproduct of it.
Do you feel big league ready right now?
I think so. Like I said, I think my stuff is big league ready. But to be honest, not being in professional baseball yet and you know, having to figure out that stuff, I think there's some stuff that I'm probably gonna have to figure out along the way because I just haven't been exposed to professional baseball. But I think, you know, with that said, I think my end goal is to be in the big leagues as long as possible, or as long as possible and as soon as possible. And so I'm going to do whatever it takes along the way to accomplish that goal.
Paul, do you know much about the Pirates organization?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you know much about the Pirates organization?
I've heard some stuff, and I've you know, obviously watched the big league team a little bit, and I know a little bit about the farm system. But more so the thing that I'm kind of fired up about is the people that I've met and talked to along the way all seem like first class people, and they seem like they have a good understanding of where the organization is going and how to make me better as an individual, and most of all, how to win in the long run. And so I'm super excited to be a part of that, and super excited to see where the organization goes.
Paul, John Parado from Pittsburgh Baseball Now. Congratulations on being the number one. During this process, the last few months, I mean, it was obvious you were going to go very high in the first round. Did you ever have a gut instinct that maybe the Pirates were going to take you at number one? Was there ever any time you thought, hey, this could really happen?
Maybe over the past week when I really started focusing on it. I met with them a couple times, and I really like the people that I met with, and I think that they have a very good understanding of where the organization's going and how I fit into that. But coming into today, I didn't know exactly what to expect. Didn't sleep a whole lot last night just thinking about it. And it's out of my hands. But during the season, I wasn't thinking about the draft a whole lot. It was just going out there and executing and winning. And as long as I do that, then everything's going to take care of itself. And then once it got to this part of the process, started thinking about it maybe a little bit more. But I think the biggest thing for this was getting to a good organization, surrounding myself with good people, and getting my foot in the door of professional baseball. And then as long as I do that, I'm going to bet on myself, and everything is going to go as it should.
Hey, Paul, you say WAFB in Baton Rouge. Just the combination of this and a national championship in less than 2 weeks. Is it almost too much to process, or how do you feel?
Maybe too much to process. I'm still trying to process the national championship. Still trying to reflect back on that and the experiences that we had this year. And this is probably going to take some more time. This is going to add on to that. So I understand what's going on. I have a good grasp of what I need to do going forward, but I think you might be right. It's going to take a little bit of time to reflect and look back on how this all happened.
And your head coach at LSU, you kind of mentioned it, but his ability to get players like you and Tommy White and whatnot, you think this thing is going to be set up for a long time?
I do. Not that I'm guaranteeing a national championship every year, but I think he knows how to bring the right people into the building, and he knows how to develop players. He knows who should be there, and he knows how to win. So I think LSU baseball is in a really good spot for a long time.
Paul, Kevin Gordon from the Trip again. You talked about going to LSU and your motivation for that, but you were a great two-way player at Air Force. What was the motivation for giving up being a two-way player, focusing on pitching, and how much of that do you feel like that decision put you in the position that you are today?
I don't know that I would be in a different position right now. I don't think in terms of winning a national championship, I should say, I don't know about the draft and what teams value and all that. But if I were two-waying, I do think, or I do know that my body would not have felt as good throughout the year as it did. Two-waying kind of gets in the way of player development, I believe, just because you're splitting your time and energy and focus. Not that, you're seeing it in the big leagues with Shohei Ohtani now. It's very possible to be elite, both ways, but I think it does take a lot of time and energy and effort to be able to do that. And then, just how my body works, having long limbs, so much rotation into my hips, it was very taxing on my body to do both, especially both right-handed. So the mindset was basically not that I couldn't hit this year, because going into the winter, preseason, I was planning on hitting and pitching, but quickly the priority became, making sure that I was healthy on the mound, 100% on the mound, to put us in a good position to win every Friday night. And that was the mindset. And it worked out. We won a national championship.
Paul, Tim Williams, Pirates Prospects. You said you're a changeup guy. I've seen a picture of your changeup. It looks like you have kind of a crazy grip where you have two fingers on either side of the ball, kind of a split grip. How did you develop that? And is that is that comfortable? I mean,
yeah, my fingers naturally are really far apart. I think they can spread really easily. So I started doing that, and I don't know, it might be a byproduct of me throwing that changeup for so long, but I started doing that in high school. And I threw it hard and it moved, how I wanted it to. So I kept throwing it, and I've gotten the feel for it as I've gotten into college of getting it off my middle finger and, throwing it and controlling it and all that. And I just haven't had to switch it up.
Paul, with advanced technology and things of that sort, how often do you pay attention to things like Rapsodo, and how often do you actually look at your pitches and, kind of gauge on where you're at in terms of spin and things of that sort?
Every time I get on the mound. When I was extremely lucky to have it at LSU, for every bullpen we had Edutronic and TrackMan, and in a lot of them we had force mounds. And so I got a really good understanding of how to read that information and how it pertains to my stuff and how to use that to get hitters out. And then again, we have it in game as well. We have TrackMan during the game, so we got a report after each game, inning by inning breakdown, pitch by pitch, all that. And so I got a really good understanding of how to use my stuff, how it changed over time, and how to get hitters out with it. And I'm actually really curious, and I'm really looking forward to how they use that stuff in professional baseball with even more resources, Hawkeye and that kind of thing. I'm looking forward to learning about that.
Paul, just to clarify, we've seen a lot of different reports on your height and weight. Can you give us a ballpark where you are either right now or where you are like game shape?
Yeah, right. Game shape, I probably lost about 5 pounds. Game shape, it's 6'6.5", 260. I don't know where the 235 is coming from.
We'd heard 6'8", we'd heard 280,
No,
anywhere from 235 to 280. I mean, people just said you're a large guy, but we just kind of wanted to get specific there.
Yes, yeah. I don't know where. Yeah, they're probably
Thanks.
using my freshman measurements.
Hey, Paul, we were talking to Ben Cherington about kind of your wanting to learn and improve, and he wouldn't put anything past you and that sort of deal. I'm curious, it seems like you have a naturally curious mindset. How much of that has to do with maybe your upbringing, or have you always been that way? Just where does that sort of, learning about TrackMan, wanting to always self-improve, where does that come from with you?
Yeah, definitely my upbringing. My parents are both very intelligent. My sisters are probably a lot smarter than I am. And just growing up in that environment, asking questions and, getting answers, learning how to research, learning how to think. That was something that was kind of, I would say, instilled in me from a very young age. We went to museums a lot, learned as much as we could as a family, that kind of thing. And I think that just transferred over to baseball. And baseball is an obsession for me to an extent. I want to do things, or I want to get better at everything I can, no matter how much time and effort. And I'll go down a rabbit hole sometimes, and it might be wrong, but if it could help me get better, then I'll do it. And a lot of the stuff I do, in terms of research and learning and stuff like that, I'm doing it on my own, I would say. And like I said, I'm really excited to see what the organization has in professional baseball, in terms of resources and new research and data and all that, that could help me get better and help the people around me get better as well, to help us win.
Paul, I wanted to ask about the first step of your collegiate journey at Air Force. I believe you come from a military family. What went into that decision for you to start there?
Yeah, it was the easiest decision of my life. I went on a recruiting camp to Air Force after my freshman year of high school. My coaches are at they were here today, which is cool. So, but I've known them since after my freshman year of high school, and immediately when I went there, I was just sold on going to the Air Force Academy. I didn't want to do anything else. I got recruited by some other schools, but Air Force was the one place I wanted to go. So, yeah, easiest decision of my life to go there, hardest decision of my life to leave.
All right, Paul, appreciate your time. Congratulations. Welcome to the Pirates, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.